Okay, this is our daily study of Pirkei Avot, the Mishnah Ethics of the Fathers. For those who have yard site for tonight, the 27th of Sivan, Gary Berger, Rose Buxner, Harry Daniels, Maury Kingston, David Kaufman, Chester Munshine, Jacob Patel, John Jacob Rothberg, Louis Simon, Mamie Weiner, and Katie Wennick. For John Jacob Rothberg, that is the grandfather of Jerry Stolov, and I have his Hebrew name, Yosef Yaakov ben Yonah. May their memory be for a blessing. A link to the text of the Mishnah will be in the first comment below. We are up to chapter 4, Mishnah 3. Hu haya omer. He used to say, we're still in the teachings of Ben Azai, Al tihi baz l'chol adam, al tihi mafli l'chol davar, she'en lach adam she'en lo sha'ah, ve'en lach davar she'en lo makom. Short Mishnah, do not despise any person, and do not dismiss anything. For there is not a man who does not have his hour, and there is not a thing that does not have its place. Okay, so don't despise any person. Every man has his hour, which is also like an English expression, the man of the hour. Every person, Andy Warhol put it, will have his 15 minutes of fame. Well, we think every person deserves their human dignity. Ben Azai elsewhere, the Kahati always gives good cross references for when the rabbis have consistent teachings. So the rabbis were disputing what's the most important verse in the Torah. And the famous Rabbi Akiva says, V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But Ben Azai, the teacher of this Mishnah, says, no, it's even more important verse is, in the image of God he created man. And that's kind of profound. And the Kahati explains the difference between them, that you could love your neighbor as yourself in sort of an active way and still also disrespect people, right? You can go out and show love to people every day and then also show hatred. But if you just have the overarching sense, the value that in the image of God, every human being has that divine dignity, then even if you don't actively show love all the time, you'll necessarily view every single individual as this divine spark, and you certainly will do no harm. And that's even more important, right? Before you can even get to actively showing love. So, kind of a profound disagreement. And Ben Azai is going back to the very beginning of the Torah, and there's something about a lesson that comes in the very beginning that makes it fundamental. The very beginning of the Torah establishes. You could say that's the most important lesson in the Torah. The rest after that is commentary, right, so to speak. Every human being created in the image of God. So Ben Azai is being consistent here. Therefore, it sort of follows that you need the Kati to tell you that he also, that this teaching follows on his other teaching. But don't despise anyone. You could think of people in society. One sort of almost humorous example I came up with is a defense lawyer who once told me, everyone hates me. Everyone hates my job. Defense lawyers. I get off murderers and I get off criminals, and everyone thinks I'm a terrible person. But just you wait until the day that you need me or someone that you know needs me, and then you'll suddenly thank God for the defense lawyer that I exist. So that could be like one example. Don't despise anyone. Everyone has their place in society. Everyone has their time where they can shine. You might think this such a person is miserable and worthless and has no value, but there might be one thing that he's just unbelievable at that you don't know, or something deep inside their soul that has to be brought out. And it all comes out of that idea that every single human being, even if it's hard for you to see, is created in the image of God and has the same divine human dignity that you do. And similarly, he says, do not dismiss anything, even any of the objects or anything that God created in the world. Just like every person has his place, every person has a time, everything has its place in the world. And that's interesting. We're speaking about space and time. For a human being, every person has their time, which means, a juncture of history or their life at which they'll excel, which really speaks to their value in general. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, the Breslov Hasidim celebrate birthdays, as do Chabad Hasidim. Most Jews don't have a value of celebrating a birthday other than a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, a major milestone. But Chabad and Breslov celebrate birthdays, and they have this beautiful idea that, well, because everything God created was good, so the day that you were born is the date on which the world could not exist without you, because everything that is meant to be. When you were born, that was meant to be. And so what you're celebrating on your birthdays, you're celebrating the date on which the world would not have been able to exist without you. You were meant to be, right? You're not just by chance, which I think is a beautiful idea and a good thing to say over at a birthday. But anyway, every person has their time and everything has its place. So the Kahati gives the example of flies and gnats and mosquitoes. And if you're a kid, you might say, why are there bees in the world? They sting. They're just annoying. Mosquitoes just give us mosquito bites. But then you could watch the Nature Channel and it'll be explained to you in detail. No, this is why, for the benefit of the ecosystem, you need mosquitoes and you need bees. And I mean, I can't explain it to you, but like I said, you go watch on the Nature Channel, and it's always fascinating that every single thing has its place. And we also go back to the very beginning of the Torah for this lesson, because at the end of the day 6, it says, "And God saw everything that He made, v'hine tov ma'od, and behold, it was very good." Everything else, it says God saw that it was good. But then when He took the grand view of everything He had made, v'hine tov ma'od, it was very good. Everything in the world is very good. God created. Now, that doesn't mean everything that happens is good. So human beings are good in the sense that we have the potential for good, but we still have free choice, and many people sadly become evil. It doesn't mean their existence is not good. They chose to waste their good by being evil, but God made them good, right? And the same thing with nature. Like when there's a tsunami, I mean, God kills millions of people, thousands of people. At that moment, the water is doing something which is not good, or somebody dies in the desert sun. The sun is doing something at that moment which has a bad effect. God forbid. We don't have good explanations theological for why that is. But it doesn't mean in general water is not tov and the sun is not tov and they don't serve an important purpose. Because Ben Azai is just saying, do not dismiss anything, right? That it's worthless. If only we didn't, you don't take the lesson from someone dying from the sun if only we didn't have the sun, or for someone dying from a tsunami if only we didn't have the ocean or water, obviously. So you can't dismiss anything in the world. Everything has its place. Even though, like I said, I don't have a good explanation for why bad things do happen as a result of human choice. It's easier to explain because we have free choice. But why do tsunamis happen and disasters of nature? I always tease in these videos by saying, well, there's not enough time to go into that. But people wiser than me have been debating these issues for years, and we can come up as best we can. But as they say in Yiddish, from a kasha starfmanish, you don't die from a question, meaning as Jews, we live with the uncertainty and the ambiguity, and we don't give up our faith based on that. Now, we'll say the El Maleh. In the Hebrew, just including the one Hebrew name I have, and then all the English names in the English version. El Maleh Rachamim Shochein Bameromim Hamitzei Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei HaShechina B'Malos Kedoshim Tahorim Kizar Harakia Mazhirim Es Nishmas Yosef Yaakov Ben Yona Yes Kol HaSkaros Shel HaLayla Shel Chuli Olamam Ba'avur Shemispallim Bat HaSkaras Nishmasam V'Gan Eden Tei Menuchasam Lachein Bal Harachamim Yastireim B'Seiser Kenefav Liolamim Yitzror B'Tzor Chaim Es Nishmasam Adonai Hu Nachlasam Yanuchu B'Shalom Mishkavasam Minomar Amen. And in English, O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the wings of the divine presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine like the glow of the firmament. For the souls of Yosef Yaakov Ben Yona, John Jacob Rothberg, Gary Berger, Rose Buxner, Harry Daniels, Maury Kingston, David Kaufman, Chester Munshine, Jacob Patel, Louis Simon, Mamie Weiner, and Katie Wennick, in whose memory we study and pray. May their resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore may the Master of Mercy shelter them in the shelter of His wings for eternity. May He bind their soul in the bond of life. Hashem is their heritage. May they rest in peace, and let us say Amen.